My wife's betrayal lasted years. I'm just too tired. I quit chasing intimacy. A stranger said know your worth, and she faced our marriage's brutal truth. What if saving your marriage meant losing yourself first, so completely that your partner didn't even recognize you anymore? For 18 agonizing months, I tried everything to win back my wife, Isabel. And when I finally stopped, that's when everything changed. Our once vibrant home, which used to buzz with the electric energy of new love, slowly became a quiet, suffocating space, thick with unspoken resentments. It started subtly, around year 3 of our marriage, after those first 2 blissful years felt like a dream. Isabel and I were a force then, building our careers, laughing until our sides ached, and sharing a connection that felt like a natural extension of our souls. She was my world, my best friend, my lover. I truly believed we had it all. But then, that gradual, insidious shift began. Little changes at first. Isabel was too tired one night. Understandable, right? Everyone gets tired. But one night bled into 2, then a week, then a month. I have a headache. Early meeting tomorrow. These excuses became a cruel mantra, replaying in my head every time I dared to reach for her. I rationalized it, told myself it was stress from her new marketing job, or she wasn't feeling well. Good husbands are understanding, I thought. They don't pressure. They wait. 1 month turned into 3, then 5, then 7. I hated myself for counting, for feeling pathetic and desperate, but I couldn't stop. I tried everything. Romantic dinners, candlelight, her favorite wine. I'd clean the entire apartment until it sparkled, hoping to ease her stress. I'd give her massages, listen intently as she talked about her day, desperately trying to rekindle that emotional spark. I even booked a weekend getaway to a quaint bed and breakfast, hoping a change of scenery would help. She agreed, but the whole time, her eyes were glued to her work emails. That first night, when I tried to initiate anything, she just rolled over, mumbling about being exhausted from the drive. I started reading books, actual therapy books on marriage and intimacy, searching for answers. Was this normal? Was it me? Everything screamed, communicate. So I did. Gently. I asked if there was a medical reason, if she wanted to see a doctor. She just looked at me like I was overreacting, brushed it off completely. Told me I was making something out of nothing. Couples therapy? She actually laughed. Not cruelly, but dismissively, making me feel small, like my pain was an invention. By our 4th anniversary, we hadn't been intimate in nearly 5 months. I decided this night would be different. I booked us a table at the restaurant where I proposed, bought her favorite flowers, wore the cologne she used to love. Dinner was wonderful. She smiled, she laughed. That spark of hope, fragile but present, flickered to life within me. Back home, we opened a celebratory bottle of champagne. Her hand rested on my knee. This is it, I thought. The breakthrough. I leaned in to kiss her. She kissed me back. For 30 precious seconds, I believed. Then she pulled away. I saw it in her eyes before she even spoke, that familiar, soul-crushing look. She touched my face, apologetically, and said she was just too exhausted, the wine making her sleepy. Something inside me broke that night. Not with an angry explosion, but a quiet, profound implosion. Like a foundation cracking deep underground, silently compromising the entire structure. I didn't argue. Didn't plead. Didn't express disappointment. I just smiled, said it was fine, kissed her forehead, and told her to get some rest. My heart was shattering, but I kept the pieces hidden. Lying awake next to her, staring at the ceiling as she slept soundly, a decision formed in the dark. I was done. Not with the marriage, not entirely. But I was done chasing her. Done initiating. Done making myself vulnerable only to be rejected, again and again and again. The next morning, I woke up different. Not cold or mean, but calm. Centered. All that desperate, needy energy I'd been carrying evaporated. I made my coffee, kissed her goodbye like always, and went about my day with a strange, unfamiliar peace. A lightness from finally letting go. Days turned into weeks. I stuck to my silent resolution. No more hand-holding on the couch. No more suggested date nights. No lingering kisses. I was pleasant, friendly even, but I stopped being the pursuing husband. Of course, Isabel noticed. About 3 weeks in, she asked if something was wrong. Was I upset? I just gave her a calm smile, told her everything was perfectly fine, and went back to reading my book. I started going to the gym before work. Not for revenge or to make her jealous, but for me. I needed to feel strong again. I started saying yes to drinks with colleagues, picked up photography, spending Saturday mornings capturing street scenes instead of trying to plan activities with her. The weight started to come off. My shoulders broadened. My confidence swelled. It had nothing to do with her, and everything to do with finally investing in myself. 2 months into this transformation, she cooked my favorite meal, pot roast with all the fixings. She was extra affectionate, touching my arm, laughing too hard. I saw exactly what she was doing. But I wasn't playing that game anymore. That night, she actually initiated something for the first time in over a year. She kissed my neck while we watched TV, her hand moving up my thigh. The old me would have leaped at the chance, grateful for any scrap of affection. But the new me? I gently kissed her forehead and mentioned an early client meeting, saying I needed sleep. The look on her face was a mix of confusion and something that looked almost like panic. She sat there, frozen, as I walked to the bedroom. Over the next few weeks, she kept trying. Outfits she knew I loved. Movie nights. Asking about my day with what felt like genuine interest. Each time, I was polite, but I never took the bait. Never gave her the reaction she was clearly looking for. I had become a complete mystery to her, a version of her husband she didn't recognize. And I could see the anxiety building behind her eyes. 3 months after my anniversary breakdown, she confronted me. Standing in the kitchen, arms crossed, demanding to know what was going on. Why was I so different? So emotionally distant? I looked at her, this woman I had loved so desperately, losing myself trying to make her happy. And I felt nothing but a strange, unsettling calm as I echoed her own words, I'm not acting different. I'm just tired. Her face went pale as the words landed. She understood. And for the first time in our entire marriage, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. Fear of losing me. The gym became my sanctuary, my escape from a marriage that felt like a polite roommate situation. 6 days a week, I pushed myself. Not for her, not to prove a point. Because for the first time in years, I was putting myself first. And it felt incredible. The physical changes were undeniable. My body transformed. Women started looking at me again. After years of feeling invisible in my own home, it was surreal. My colleagues commented on my new confidence. My boss noticed, too. I was pulled into bigger projects, more important client presentations. 6 months in, I was promoted to senior director, a position I'd been passed over for twice before. I picked up cooking as a serious hobby. Made elaborate gourmet meals just for myself, plating them beautifully, enjoying my own company. I joined a hiking group, started taking photography trips. My social circle expanded beyond anything it had been since before we got married. I realized I'd been so fixated on fixing our marriage, I'd completely neglected building a life outside of it. Isabel saw it all. I'd catch her watching me, like I was a stranger who'd replaced her husband. She started asking about where I was going, who I was with. Questions she never bothered with when I was just the reliable husband waiting at home. She'd wait up for me after the gym, pretending to watch TV, just to see me walk through the door. I'd say hello, ask about her day politely, then head to the shower without lingering. The casual touches started coming from her side. Brushing against me in the kitchen. Her hand on my shoulder. Leaning close. All these desperate, transparent attempts to reconnect. She started dressing differently around the apartment, wearing clothes I used to love, doing her makeup even when we weren't going anywhere. I recognized it for exactly what it was, a response to losing control of someone she'd taken completely for granted. One Saturday night, she suggested a date night at home. She cooked dinner, set candles, put on music. I could see how much effort she'd put in. We ate, we talked. It was pleasant. Afterwards, on the couch, she sat closer than she had in months. Her hand was on my chest, her eyes looking at me with that gaze that used to melt me. She leaned in to kiss me. I let her. But I didn't lean into it. Didn't pull her closer. Didn't deepen the kiss. I just let it happen, then naturally pulled back and asked if she wanted more wine, as if nothing special had occurred. The confusion and hurt on her face were almost painful to watch. She was trying so hard to seduce me, and I was treating it like any other ordinary evening. Pleasant, but not passionate. Friendly, but not intimate. She asked directly if I still found her attractive. Of course, you're beautiful, I said, then casually changed the subject to something in the news. The hot and cold game started after that. Some days she'd be distant, almost punishing me. Other days, overly affectionate, trying different tactics to break through my new exterior. I stayed completely consistent through it all, calm, centered, unmoved. It was driving her absolutely crazy. My life, meanwhile, had become genuinely full. Hobbies, friends, career momentum, a body I was proud of. None of it depended on her validation or attention. About 8 months into my transformation, I was working late in my home office. I needed our shared laptop because mine was dead. I opened it, and Isabel's email was still logged in. I wasn't snooping, truly. But a draft email to her best friend from college was open on the screen. The first line caught my eye before I could look away. I should have closed it. Should have respected her privacy. But something compelled me to read. And what I found absolutely destroyed me in ways her physical rejection never had. She wrote about feeling empty and hollow in our marriage. How she didn't feel anything romantic for me anymore. How she'd been actively avoiding intimacy because the thought of it made her feel nothing but numbness and obligation. She fantasized about a different life, being single, meeting someone new who made her feel alive instead of trapped. She knew she should probably leave, but it was comfortable and safe. I was a good provider, a good person, but the spark was gone. She even wrote about feeling guilty sometimes, seeing how hard I tried, but that guilt wasn't enough to make her actually want me. The words hit me like physical blows. Each sentence confirmed what I'd suspected but desperately hoped wasn't true. This wasn't about being tired. This was about her consciously checking out, while keeping me around as a comfortable safety net. I sat there, staring at the screen for 20 minutes, rereading every word. Something shifted in me that night, even more profound than my 4th anniversary breakdown. I quietly closed the laptop, walked to our bedroom, and started packing a bag. Clothes, toiletries. The sound of the closet door must have woken her up. She sat up, confused. "What are you doing?" "I need space," I said, my voice steady. "Time away to think." She panicked immediately. "What happened? What did I do? Why are you leaving?" I didn't tell her about the email. Didn't throw her words back in her face. I just said, I need to think about us. About our marriage. About what I actually want from my life. She started crying, real tears now, grabbing my arm. "We can talk about it. We don't need space, we need to work through this, like married people do." I gently removed her hand. Looked her directly in the eyes. I've been trying to work through this for over a year, Isabel. And you told me everything was fine. So now, I need to figure out if I still believe that. I finished packing, grabbed my keys and wallet, and walked out. She stood in the bedroom doorway, sobbing, calling my name, begging me not to leave. I checked into a hotel about 20 minutes away. Nothing fancy, just a clean room, a bed, and blessed silence. I sat on the edge of that bed, staring at the wall, feeling a strange, overwhelming mix of devastation and relief. The next morning, I woke up without an alarm, ordered room service, and just sat with my thoughts. No weight of her presence, no constant rejection, no pretending everything was okay. My phone was blowing up, texts, missed calls from Isabel. Messages that started apologetic, quickly escalated to frantic voice memos of her crying, saying she didn't understand why I left, begging me to come home. I listened to one while drinking my coffee. Heard the genuine fear in her voice, the desperation. And I felt something I hadn't felt in our entire marriage. Power. Like my presence mattered. Like losing me actually meant something real to her. 3 days into my hotel stay, after dozens of ignored messages, I finally responded with a simple text, "I need more time. I'll reach out when I'm ready to talk." Her response was immediate, a long voice memo. I almost didn't listen. But something made me press play. "Please come home, Nathan. I'll change. I promise I'll change. Just please don't leave me." Her voice was raw with tears. For the first time in years, she sounded like she actually meant it. Like she was finally seeing what she stood to lose. I texted back 3 words that I knew would hurt but needed to be said. Words that mirrored what she'd made me feel for so long. "I need time," I wrote. Then I turned off my phone completely. Went to the hotel gym and worked out until my muscles screamed and my mind finally went quiet. I stayed at that hotel for 2 full weeks. In that time, I did more thinking about my marriage than in the previous 4 years combined. What did I want? What did I deserve? Was this relationship worth saving, or was I just too comfortable to let go? Isabel's messages continued daily. They evolved from frantic, to reflective, to desperate, to angry, and back to pleading. I could see her going through the actual stages of grief. On day 15, I finally decided it was time to go home. Time to have the conversation we should have had years ago, the hone. St1, without me accommodating, without her deflecting. I texted her, "I'm coming back tonight. We need to talk openly about everything." Her response was immediate. Just, "Okay," with a heart emoji that felt both hopeful and absolutely terrified. When I walked through our apartment door, she was sitting on the couch, waiting. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked smaller, more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. We sat across from each other, and the silence stretched, heavy and profound, before she started speaking. What came out was more honest than anything she'd said to me in years. Maybe ever. She told me it was never about being tired. That was just the easy excuse, the convenient lie to avoid examining why she was pulling away. She talked about how, when we first got married, she felt herself disappearing, her identity getting swallowed by being a wife. Intimacy started to feel like giving up another piece of herself, like she was losing control of her own body and choices. She associated physical closeness with vulnerability, and vulnerability with losing control. Somewhere along the way, she'd built massive walls to protect herself, without realizing she was locking me out completely, destroying us. She admitted she'd been selfish, keeping me around because I made her feel safe, secure, loved, while refusing to give me what I needed. She saw now how cruel that was, how much it had damaged me. She spoke about her mother's marriage, how her mom had given up everything, lost herself completely, and how terrified Isabel was of becoming that. I listened without interrupting. When she finished, I told her my truth. How every rejection had chipped away at my self-worth until I believed I was unlovable, undesirable, fundamentally not enough. The nights I'd laid awake, feeling utterly alone despite sharing a bed with her. How I'd tried everything to fix us, and she'd told me there was nothing wrong. Then, I told her about finding the email draft. I watched her face go completely pale as I recounted her words, feeling nothing for me, fantasizing about a different life, keeping me around because I was comfortable. I asked her directly if any of that had actually changed, or if she was just afraid of being alone, terrified of starting over, worried about what people would think if we divorced. She broke down completely, sobbing in a way I'd never seen, like something was finally breaking open inside her. She swore those words were written in a dark moment, when she was confused, running from her own issues. She said watching me transform, watching me pull away, had forced her to confront what she actually felt underneath all her fear. Watching me become this confident, independent person who didn't need her anymore, who had his own life, friends, hobbies, it had shaken her. Because it made her realize she didn't need me, but she did want me. She'd just been too broken and frightened to access those feelings, or admit them. I told her I believed she was sorry, and I believed she was frightened. But sorry and fear weren't enough to rebuild what we'd lost. I needed to see sustained change, consistent effort, and complete, brutal honesty. I laid out my conditions, absolute non-negotiables: couples therapy immediately. Individual therapy for her to work through whatever childhood trauma was making her sabotage intimacy. No more lies, no more deflecting, no more avoiding uncomfortable conversations. I needed her to be accountable, to explain when she was pulling away and why. Rebuilding my trust would take months, maybe years, of consistent action, not just words. She agreed to everything without hesitation. Told me she'd already researched therapists, had an appointment scheduled for next week. She'd do whatever it took. I told her I was moving into the guest bedroom for now. Physical intimacy was completely off the table until we'd done substantial work in therapy. I needed to see her show up emotionally before I could even think about showing up physically again. The hurt on her face was obvious, painful, but she nodded. She understood. She deserved that boundary after everything. Over the next 6 months, we went to therapy every single week, sometimes twice. It was brutal, uncomfortable, and necessary in ways I can't fully describe. She started unpacking her fear of vulnerability, her control issues, actual childhood trauma she'd never dealt with, watching her parents' toxic dynamic, swearing she'd never let that happen to her. I watched her do the genuinely hard work of becoming self-aware, recognizing her patterns, sitting with uncomfortable emotions instead of running. I worked on my own issues too, my tendency to sacrifice myself for peace, my fear of confrontation, how I'd enabled her behavior by accepting crumbs. We had breakthroughs and major setbacks. Nights where we reconnected emotionally, and nights where old patterns tried to resurface. Her therapist diagnosed her with attachment issues stemming from her childhood, and we finally understood that her rejection wasn't about me at all. It was about her own fear of being consumed by love. Around month 7 of therapy, her mom got very sick. Hospitalized with heart problems. I watched Isabel start to retreat emotionally, the way she always had. But this time was different. This time, she caught herself. She came to me crying one night, told me she could feel herself wanting to run and push me away, but she didn't want to do that anymore. I held her while she cried. Told her I wasn't going anywhere. That she could be vulnerable with me, and it wouldn't make her weak. It wouldn't make her lose herself. It was actually the strongest thing she could do. A month after that, I moved back into our bedroom. We started rebuilding physical intimacy slowly, carefully, with endless communication about what felt safe and what felt frightening. A full year after I'd walked out with that packed bag, we went back to the same restaurant where we'd had our 4th anniversary dinner, the night that had broken something fundamental in me and started this whole painful transformation. We sat across from each other. I looked at this woman who was both the same person I'd married, and someone completely different. Someone who'd done the hard, painful work to show up for us, to become a genuine partner. I told her I didn't regret leaving. Didn't regret those 2 weeks in the hotel. Because without that, she never would have woken up to what she was losing. She would have kept sleepwalking through our marriage until there was nothing left. She reached across the table and took my hand. She told me if I hadn't left, if I hadn't stopped chasing her and started chasing myself instead, she would have kept destroying us slowly until we both hated each other. We're not perfect now. We still have hard days and difficult conversations. Moments where her old fears surface, or where I feel that old hurt creeping back in. But we're both present in ways we never were before, both choosing each other consciously and actively, instead of just going through the comfortable motions. This time, our marriage isn't built on me chasing and her running. It's built on two people who decided to actually fight for something worth keeping. Who decided that love without work is just a comfortable lie we tell ourselves until it falls apart. It's a strange journey, saving a marriage by letting go. If you were in my shoes, what would your turning point have been? Or have you ever had to completely change yourself to save something? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I'm reading everything.